The morning sky on Kepler 442c turned dark gray again. Kim Hwan looked up from his workstation and sighed. Another rainstorm was coming. He could see the thick clouds rolling in from the eastern mountains. The alien weather sensors showed it. Would be a big one. Here we go again, he said to himself. Kim Hwan was the colony's water engineer. It was his job to make sure everyone had clean water to drink. He had been doing this work for 2 years now, ever since the colony started. New Eden Colony was special. It was the first place where humans lived together with 3 different alien species. The Neptunians looked like tall, blue creatures with smooth skin that always seemed wet. They loved water and could breathe both air and liquid. The crystallites were made of living silicon and looked like walking crystal formations. They were very smart and could think faster than most humans. The Luminari were the strangest of all. They were made of pure energy and looked like floating balls of light that could change shape. All 4 species worked together to build this colony. They shared technology, food, and knowledge. Most of the time, everyone got along well. But when it came to rain, things were different. Kim Hwan started packing up his equipment. He knew the storm would hit soon. All the humans would need to get inside their buildings and seal the doors. The rain on this planet was not like Earth rain. It was full of chemicals that could burn skin and damage equipment. "Hwan, what are you doing?" a voice called out. Kim Hwan turned around. It was Veltar, one of the Neptunians. Veltar was tall and moved like he was swimming even when walking on land. His blue skin had patterns that changed color when he talked. "Getting ready for the storm," Kim Hwan said. "The rain will start in about 20 minutes. Veltar made a sound that humans had learned meant laughter. "You humans are so funny. Why do you always hide from the rain?" "It is the best part of living here." "The rain is dangerous for us," Kim Hwan explained. "It has acid in it. It can hurt." "Yes? Dangerous?" Veltar's skin turned a lighter blue. "How can rain be dangerous? Rain is life, rain is food, rain is happiness." Kim Hwan had heard this many times before. To the Neptunians, the acid rain was like a vitamin drink. They would stand outside during storms and let the rain soak into their skin. It made them stronger and healthier. "Maybe for you," Kim Hwan said, "but humans are different." A low humming sound came from behind them. It was Crix, one of the crystallites. Crix looked like a walking diamond with arms and legs made of clear crystal. When he talked, his whole body would glow with different colors. "The human speaks truth about being different," Crix said. His voice sounded like music. "But perhaps the difference is that humans have not learned to adapt." "What do you mean?" Kim Hwan asked. "We crystallites use the rain to grow our bodies. The minerals in the water help us build new crystal structures. The acid cleans away old, damaged parts. For us, the rain is like visiting a doctor." Kim Hwan nodded. He knew this too. The crystallites actually got bigger and stronger after each rainstorm. Their crystal bodies would repair any cracks and add new layers. A bright flash of light appeared next to them. It was Mothra, one of the Luminari. The energy being took the shape of a tall, thin human for a moment, then shifted to look like a tree, then became a ball of yellow light. "The electrical activity in the rainstorms feeds us," Mothra said. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We absorb the energy from the lightning and the charged particles in the raindrops. Without these storms, we would become weak." Kim Hwan looked at all 3 aliens. They all loved the rain that humans feared. To them, it was not dangerous at all. It was helpful, even necessary for their survival. "I understand that you all benefit from the rain," Kim Hwan said, "but humans cannot. We need to protect ourselves." "But that is the problem," Veltar said. "You have been here for 2 years. Maybe it is time to stop being afraid and learn to live with the planet instead of fighting it." Crix's crystal body flashed bright blue. "Agreed. Adaptation is the key to successful colonization. Other species have learned to use the planet's resources. Humans still try to change everything to match their old world." The first drops of rain began to fall. Kim Hwan felt one hit his arm. Even through his protective clothing, it stung a little. "I need to get inside," he said. "The storm is starting." "Wait," Mothra said, the light being moved in front of Kim Hwan. "We have been discussing this issue in the council meetings. Many of us believe that human fear of the rain is holding back the colony's progress." "How so?" Kim Hwan asked, but he was already backing toward the nearest building. "You spend so much time and energy building shelters and filters," Veltar explained. "That time could be used for other projects that would help everyone. Plus, your fear makes the other species feel unwelcome," Crix added. "When you run away every time it rains, it seems like you think our planet is terrible." Kim Hwan stopped walking. He had not thought about it that way. "I don't think your planet is terrible. I just think the rain is dangerous for humans." "But have you really tested this?" Mothra asked. "Have you studied what would happen if humans drank the rainwater or touched it more often?" "Some of our people have accidentally been exposed to small amounts," Kim Hwan said. "They got tired and had trouble thinking clearly for a while, but they recovered after a few days." "See?" Veltar's skin turned bright green with excitement. "Minor effects that go away quickly. Maybe humans just need to build up a tolerance like any adaptation process." The rain was getting heavier now. Kim Hwan could see other humans running for shelter, but the aliens seemed perfectly comfortable. Veltar opened his arms wide and let the rain soak his skin. Crix stood perfectly still, and Kim Hwan could see new crystal formations growing on his body. Mothra became brighter and more solid as the electrical activity in the storm increased. "I really need to get inside," Kim Hwan said. "Think about what we have said," Crix called out as Kim Hwan ran toward the human habitat building. "Adaptation is survival." Kim Hwan made it inside just as the storm really started. Through the window, he could see the three aliens still standing outside, enjoying the rain that would hurt any human who touched it. Inside the building, he found Park Nari working at her lab station. Park Nari was the colony's doctor and scientist. She studied how different species could live together safely. "How bad is it out there?" she asked without looking up from her microscope. "The usual," Kim Hwan said, taking off his protective gear. "The aliens think we're being paranoid about the rain again." "Maybe we are," Park Nari said. "I've been studying the water samples you collected last week. The acid levels are high, but not deadly in small amounts." "Small amounts, maybe. But I'm not willing to risk it." Park Nari finally looked up at him. "The colony council meeting is tomorrow. Lee Timan told me they want to discuss the rain issue again." Lee Timan was the human administrator. He had to balance keeping humans safe with keeping the aliens happy. It was not an easy job. "What are they going to discuss?" Kim Hwan asked. "Whether humans should be required to use less protection during storms. Some aliens think our fear is insulting to them." Kim Hwan walked to the window and watched the storm. The rain was coming down hard now, and lightning filled the sky. He could still see the three aliens outside, looking perfectly happy. "I don't care if they think it's insulting," he said. "I'm going to keep building better filters and better protection. My job is to keep humans safe." "I support you," Park Nari said. "Better safe than sorry." Outside, the storm raged on, and the aliens danced in the rain that humans feared. The colony council meeting was held in the big dome at the center of New Eden. Kim Himhia sat with the other humans on one side of the circular room. The aliens sat on the other sides, each species in their own section. Lee Timan stood at the center of the room. He looked tired. Being the human representative was getting harder every day. "We are here to discuss the rainwater issue," Lee Timan said. "Some council members believe humans are being too careful about storm protection." Veltar stood up from the Neptunian section. "Too careful is a gentle way to put it. Humans act like our planet is trying to kill them. This is offensive to those of us who call this world home." "The planet is not trying to kill us," Kim Hwan said, standing up. "But the rain can hurt humans. We have to be careful." Crix's crystal body flashed red. "Careful is one thing. Paranoid is another. Humans build walls, filters, and barriers for everything. You do not trust the planet or the other species who live here. Mothra floated higher in the air, becoming brighter. A Galactic Colonial Authority sent a message last week. They are concerned about human integration with the colony. Your fear is noted in their reports. Kim Hwan felt his heart sink. The Galactic Colonial Authority controlled all the colonies. If they decided humans were not integrating well, they could remove all humans from New Eden. What exactly did they say? Lee Tiemann asked. They said humans must learn to adapt to colonial life, Veltar answered. Other species have shown they can change and grow. Humans seem to want everything to stay exactly like their old planet. That's not true, Park Nari said, standing up next to Kim Hwan. We have adapted to many things. We work with all your species. We share technology and knowledge, we just want to be safe. Safe from what? Crix asked. We have all lived with this rain for many years. None of us have been hurt by it. Why do you think it will hurt humans? Kim Hwan took a deep breath. Because we are different. Our bodies are not like yours. What is good for you might be bad for us. Have you tested this theory? Mothra asked. Have you done experiments to see what really happens? We have observed humans who accidentally consumed small amounts of rainwater, Park Nari said. They showed symptoms of fatigue and mild cognitive impairment. Veltar's skin turned yellow, which meant he was amused. Fatigue and cognitive impairment? That sounds like what happens when humans do not get enough sleep or eat too much sugar. The symptoms were minor and temporary, Crix added. This does not sound dangerous, Kim Hwan felt frustrated. The aliens did not understand that even small problems could be signs of bigger dangers. Minor symptoms now could mean major problems. Later, he said. We do not know what long-term exposure might do. But you will never know if you do not try, Veltar argued. How can you learn to live on a planet if you hide from everything on it? Lee Tiemann raised his hand. Let's try to find a compromise. Kim Hwan, what would you need to feel more confident about the rainwater? Kim Hwan thought for a moment. I would need better equipment to study the water. I want to know exactly what is in it and how it affects humans. The colony has already spent a lot of money on your filtration systems, Mothra said. How much more do you need? I need advanced analysis equipment. Something that can detect very small particles and organisms. Crix's body flashed purple. Organisms? You think there are living things in the rain? Maybe, I do not know. That is why I need better equipment to check. Veltar made his laughing sound again. You want to spend more money to look for imaginary creatures in the rain? They might not be imaginary, Kim Hwan said. Earth had many tiny organisms in its water. Some were helpful, some were harmful. We need to know what is in this planet's water. The room was quiet for a moment. Kim Hwan could hear the hum of the building's air system and the distant sound of another storm starting outside. I will make a deal with you, Lee Tiemann said finally. You can have the equipment you need. But you must also test what happens when humans are exposed to small amounts of rainwater in controlled conditions. Kim Hwan did not like this idea. That could be dangerous. The exposure would be very small and very controlled, Park Nari said quickly. I could monitor the test subjects carefully. If there are any problems, we could stop immediately. And if the tests show the rain is safe for humans? Crix asked. Lee Tiemann looked at Kim Hwan. Then we would consider reducing some of our protection measures. Kim Hwan wanted to say no. Every instinct told him that the rain was dangerous. But he also knew that the colony needed to work together. If the aliens thought humans were being unreasonable, it could cause bigger problems. Okay, he said finally. But I want to study the rainwater first, before any human exposure tests. Agreed, Veltar said. But you must promise to be fair. If you find nothing dangerous, you will admit it. I promise to report exactly what I find, Kim Hwan said. After the meeting, Kim Hwan walked back to his laboratory with Park Nari. The storm outside was getting stronger, and they could hear thunder in the distance. Do you really think there might be organisms in the rain? Park Nari asked. I do not know, Kim Hwan said. But something does not feel right. Why would humans be the only species affected by the water, even if the effects are small? Maybe our biology is just more sensitive, Parknari suggested. Maybe there is something in the water that affects us differently than it affects them. They reached Kim Hwan's lab. It was a small room filled with water testing equipment and filtration systems. Kim Hwan had built most of the machines himself, using parts from Earth and materials from the alien species. The new equipment should arrive next week, Parknari said. Then we can really see what is in the rain. Kim Hwan picked up a container of filtered rainwater from the last storm. It looked clear and clean, but he knew looks could be deceiving. There is something else that bothers me, he said. What? The humans who have been here the longest seem to be changing, Parknari frowned. Changing how? They are more relaxed about safety protocols. They argue less in meetings. They seem to agree with the aliens more often. Maybe they are just adapting to colonial life, Parknari said. Learning to get along better. Maybe, but it seems strange. These are the same people who were very careful about everything when we first arrived. Parknari was quiet for a moment, thinking. The ones who have been here longest have also had the most accidental exposure to rainwater. Kim Hwan looked at her. You think there is a connection? I do not know. But it is worth studying. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky. Through the window, Kim Hwan could see Veltar, Crix, and Mothra still standing in the rain, looking as happy as ever. I am going to find out what is really in that water, Kim Hwan said. Even if everyone thinks I am being paranoid. I will help you, Parknari said. Better paranoid than sorry, Kim Hwan smiled. At least he had one ally. He just hoped it would be enough. The storm continued through the night. Kim Hwan worked late, preparing his equipment for the detailed analysis that would begin as soon as the new machines arrived. He had a feeling that what he found would change everything, but he had no idea how right he was. The new analysis equipment arrived on a supply ship from Earth. Kim Hwan spent 3 days setting it up in his laboratory. The machines were much more advanced than anything he had used before. They could detect particles so small that millions could fit on the head of a pin. Parknari helped him calibrate the equipment. She was excited to finally get some real answers about the rainwater. This scanner can detect individual molecules, she said, pointing to one of the machines. If there is anything unusual in the water, we will find it. Kim Hwan nodded. He had collected fresh rain samples from the last 3 storms. Each sample was stored in a separate container, labeled with the date and time it was collected. Let's start with the oldest sample, he said. They put the first sample into the molecular scanner. The machine hummed quietly as it worked. Results appeared on the screen after a few minutes. Water, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, various minerals, Parknari read from the display. This is what we expected. Nothing unusual so far. Kim Hwan frowned. Run it through the biological scanner. The biological scanner was designed to find living things in water samples. It could detect bacteria, viruses, and other tiny organisms. Kim Hwan watched the screen carefully as the machine worked. Wait, Parknari said suddenly. Look at this. On the screen, a small blinking dot appeared. Then another and another. What are those? Kim Hwan asked. Parknari typed commands into the computer. The image on the screen got bigger, showing more detail. They look like ... She paused. I am not sure what they look like. The organisms were tiny, even under maximum magnification. They had long, thin bodies with what looked like tentacles at one end. They were not moving. Are they alive? Kim Hwan asked. The scanner says yes, but they appear to be dormant. Like they are sleeping. Kim Hwan felt his heart beat faster. How many are there? Parknari ran the counter program. About 50,000. Per milliliter of water. 50,000? Kim Hwan stared at the screen. That's a lot. Let me check the other samples. They tested the second sample. It had the same organisms in about the same numbers. The third sample was identical. They are in all the rainwater, Parknari said quietly. Kim Hwan sat down in his chair. His worst fears were coming true. There were living things in the rain, and humans had been exposed to them for 2 years. What do we know about them? He asked. Parknari ran more tests. They are unlike anything in our databases. They have a complex internal structure, but they are not bacteria or viruses. They seem to be something completely new. Are they dangerous? I do not know. They are not doing anything right now. Just floating in the water. Kim Hwan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see Veltar working in his garden. The Neptunian was using rainwater to feed his plants. The aliens drink this water every day, Kim Hwan said. If these organisms were dangerous, wouldn't they be affected too? Maybe the organisms only affect certain types of life, Parknari suggested. Or maybe the aliens are immune to them. Kim Hwan had an idea. Let's test what happens when we expose these organisms to different conditions. They spent the next 2 days running experiments. They heated the organisms, cooled them, exposed them to different chemicals, and tried various types of radiation. Most treatments had no effect. The organisms stayed dormant no matter what they did to them, but then Kim Hwan tried something different. What? If we expose them to brainwaves, he said. Brainwaves? Human brain activity produces electromagnetic signals. Maybe these organisms react to that type of energy? Parknari looked skeptical. How would we test that? Kim Hwan connected a brainwave monitor to the lab equipment. I'll wear this headset while we expose the organisms to the electromagnetic field it produces. He put the headset on and turned on the machine. On the screen, they could see the organisms in the water sample. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly, the organisms began to move. They are waking up, Parknari whispered. The organisms move through the water like tiny snakes. They seem to be searching for something. Turn off the brainwave generator, Parknari said. Kim Hwan turned it off. The organisms immediately stopped moving and became dormant again. They respond to human brain activity, Kim Hwan said. His voice was shaking. They repeated the experiment 3 times. Each time, the organisms became active when exposed to human brainwaves and went dormant when the signal stopped. We need to test this with alien brain patterns, Parknari said. Kim Hwan had recordings of brain activity from all 3 alien species. They were part of the medical files that Parknari kept for the colony health records. They tested the Neptunian brain patterns first. The organisms did not react at all. The crystallite patterns also had no effect. The luminary patterns actually seem to make the organisms move away from the signal source. Only human brain activity wakes them up, Kim Hwan said. That explains why the aliens are not affected. But what do the organisms do when they are active? Parknari asked. Kim Hwan had a terrible thought. We need brain tissue to test that. Brain tissue? Animal brain tissue? To see what these organisms do when they encounter nerve cells. Parknari looked uncomfortable. That sounds dangerous. We have to know, Kim Hwan said. If these things have been getting into humans for 2 years, we need to understand what they are doing. They used brain tissue from the laboratory animals that the colony kept for medical research. The tissue was kept alive in a special solution. When they added the organisms to the brain tissue, the results were immediate and frightening. The organisms moved quickly to the nerve cells and began to attach themselves. Under the microscope, they could see the organisms extending tiny threads into the neurons. They are making connections with the nerve cells, Parknari said. Connections for what? As they watched, the organisms began to form small groups around individual neurons. The nerve cells started firing in patterns that were not normal. It looks like they are trying to control the neurons, Parknari said. Kim Hwan felt sick. They are parasites. They take control of brain cells. But why are they dormant in the rainwater? Maybe they need to be inside a living host to fully activate. The rainwater just carries them from place to place. They ran more tests. The organisms could survive in human tissue for weeks. They were resistant to most medicines, and they seemed to be very good at hiding from the body's natural defenses. How many humans have been exposed to these things? Parknari asked. Kim Juan thought about all the people who had accidentally consumed rainwater over the past 2 years. Probably all of us at least a little bit. And the ones who have been here longest have had the most exposure. Kim Juan remembered his observation about the long-term colonists becoming more agreeable and less safety conscious. "We need to scan some human brains," he said. "Scan them for what? To see if these organisms are already living inside our people?" Park Nari was quiet for a long moment. "If they are, what do we do about it?" Kim Juan did not have an answer. But he knew they had to find out the truth, no matter how scary it might be. "First, we document everything we have found," he said. "Then we figure out how to test humans, without letting anyone know what we are looking for." Why the secrecy? Because if these organisms can influence human behavior, then some of our people might already be compromised. They might try to stop us from investigating further. Park Nari nodded slowly. "And we cannot trust the aliens to help us. They do not even know these organisms exist." Outside, another storm was beginning. Kim Juan watched the dark clouds gathering, and felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. "We are on our own," he said. Kim Juan and Park Nari spent the next week preparing their report. They had photos of the organisms, test results, and video recordings of how the parasites behaved with brain tissue. The evidence was clear and frightening. "We need to present this to the Colony Council," Park Nari said. "I know," Kim Juan replied, "but I have a bad feeling about how they will react." They called for an emergency council meeting. All the species representatives gathered in the dome again. This time, Kim Juan brought his portable computer and a projection screen. Lee Tiemann looked worried when he saw the equipment. "What did you find, Juan?" "Something that changes everything," Kim Juan said. He turned on the projector and showed the first image of the organisms. "These are microscopic parasites that live in the rainwater. They are in every sample I have tested." Veltar's skin turned a dark blue color. "Parasites? You mean like the helpful bacteria that clean our skin?" "No," Kim Juan said. "These are different. They appear to be designed to attack nervous systems." He showed the video of the organisms connecting to nerve cells. The room was silent as everyone watched. As you can see, they form connections with brain tissue and attempt to control neural activity. Crix's crystal body flashed red, which meant he was angry. "This is ridiculous. We have drunk this water for generations. There are no parasites." "The parasites only respond to human brain activity," Park Nari explained. "They remain dormant when exposed to your species' neural patterns." Mothra flickered brighter. "You are saying that this water is dangerous only to humans?" "Yes," Kim Juan said. "And we believe these organisms have already infected many of the humans in the colony." The room erupted in noise. The aliens were talking loudly in their own languages. The humans looked shocked and scared. Lee Tiemann raised his hand for silence. "Do you have proof that humans are infected?" "We have circumstantial evidence," Park Nari said. "Humans who have been here longest show behavioral changes consistent with neural manipulation." Veltar made his laughing sound, but it was not friendly. "This time, behavioral changes? You mean they have learned to adapt to colonial life instead of being afraid of everything?" "We mean they have become less cautious about safety," Kim Juan said. "Less likely to question dangerous situations." Crix's body flashed brighter red. "So humans who learn to trust their alien neighbors are considered infected? This is insulting." "That is not what we are saying," Park Nari tried to explain. "It is exactly what you are saying," Mothra interrupted. "You are claiming that any human who is not paranoid must be controlled by parasites." Kim Juan felt the meeting slipping away from him. "Look at the evidence. These organisms exist. They respond to human brain activity. They connect to nerve cells." "Your evidence shows tiny organisms in water," Veltar said. "Every planet has microorganisms. It does not prove they are dangerous. We tested them with brain tissue," Kim Juan said. "Animal brain tissue in a laboratory," Crix pointed out. "That is not the same as a living human brain in a healthy body." "Lee." Tiemann looked uncomfortable. "What are you asking us to do about this?" "We need to stop all human exposure to unfiltered rainwater immediately," Kim Hwan said. And we need to find a way to remove these parasites from anyone who might be infected. The aliens looked at each other. Even without words, Kim Hwan could tell they were communicating somehow. We have discussed this among ourselves, Valtar said finally. We believe you are being paranoid again. The Galactic Colonial Authority specifically warned about human adaptation problems, Crix added. This appears to be another example. Mothra floated higher. We cannot shut down normal colonial activities based on speculation about invisible parasites that may or may not be harmful. They are not speculation, Kim Hwan said, his voice getting louder. I can show you the organisms right now. You can show us microorganisms, Valtar corrected. You cannot prove they are dangerous to living humans. Li Timan looked around. The room. What does the medical staff think? Park Nari stood up. As the colony's chief medical officer, I support Kim Hwan's findings. We need to take precautions until we understand these organisms better. And how long would these precautions last? Crix asked. Until we can prove the organisms are safe or find a way to eliminate them, Kim Hwan said. Valtar's skin turned yellow again. So indefinitely. You want to shut down normal life indefinitely based on a theory. It is not a theory, Kim Hwan said. It is evidence. Evidence that you interpret in the most frightening way possible, Mothra said. This is typical human behavior. You see danger everywhere. The alien representatives talked among themselves in low voices. Kim Hwan could not understand their languages, but their body language was clear. They were not convinced. We have made a decision, Valtar announced. The colony will not change its policies based on this presentation. What? Kim Hwan stood up quickly. You are ignoring clear evidence of a biological threat. We are ignoring human paranoia, Crix said. These supposed parasites have not harmed any of our species. The humans who have been exposed to more rainwater are healthier and better adapted to colonial life. That is exactly the problem, Park Nari said. The changes in human behavior could be caused by neural manipulation, or they could be caused by humans finally learning to live on this planet instead of fighting it, Mothra said. Li Timan looked around the room desperately. Can we at least agree to do more testing? The colony has already spent too much money on Kim Hwan's filtration projects, Valtar said. We will not fund more research into imaginary threats. They are not imaginary, Kim Hwan said. Prove it, Crix challenged. Show us one human who has been harmed by these organisms. Kim Hwan opened his mouth to answer, but he realized he could not. The humans who had been exposed the most seemed perfectly healthy. In fact, they seemed happier and more cooperative than ever. The lack of obvious symptoms does not mean there is no danger, Park Nari said. And the presence of microorganisms does not mean there is danger either, Valtar replied. The meeting continued for another hour, but nothing changed. The aliens remained convinced that Kim Hwan was being paranoid. Some of the humans seemed to agree with the aliens, especially those who had been on the colony longest. After the meeting, Kim Hwan and Park Nari walked back to the laboratory in silence. The rain was starting again, and they could see aliens throughout the colony standing outside to enjoy it. They do not believe us, Park Nari said. Worse than that, Kim Hwan replied. They think we are the problem. What do we do now? Kim Hwan looked at the rain falling on the colony. We keep researching, and we find a way to prove that these parasites are dangerous. How? I do not know yet, but I am not giving up. That night Kim Hwan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the organisms in the rain and the humans who had been exposed to them. Somewhere in the colony, people were walking around with parasites in their brains, and no one wanted to believe it. He got up and went to his laboratory. Through the window, he could see the aliens still dancing in the rain. They looked so happy and carefree, but Kim Hwan knew the truth. The rain was not harmless. And somehow, he had to find a way to save his people before it was too late. Kim Hwan could not stop thinking about the humans who had been on the colony longest. There was something different about them, something that bothered him more each day. He started watching them carefully. There was Jin Woong, who had arrived in the first group of colonists. Jin Woong used to argue with the aliens about safety procedures. Now he always agreed with whatever they suggested. There was Kim Soo, who used to complain about the food and the living conditions. Now she smiled all the time and said everything was perfect, and there was Park Hyman, who had been the most cautious person in the colony. Now he walked around in light rain without protection and told other humans they were being too careful. Something is wrong with them, Kim Hwan told Park Nari. They were sitting in his laboratory, looking at brain scans on the computer screen. Kim Hwan had convinced several colonists to let him scan their brains for a routine health check. He had not told them what he was really looking for. "Look at this," he said, pointing to Jin Woong's brain scan. Park Nari studied the image carefully. "I see small dark spots in the brainstem and spinal cord areas. Those spots are not supposed to be there," Kim Hwan said. "And look at this." He showed her Kim Soo's brain scan. It had similar dark spots, but there were more of them. "She has been here longer than Jin Woong," Kim Hwan explained. "More exposure time." Park Hyman's scan was the worst. The dark spots were everywhere in his brain, forming patterns that looked almost like a network. "What do you think those spots are?" Park Nari asked. "Colonies of parasites," Kim Hwan said. "They have been building up in human brains for 2 years?" Park Nari was quiet for a moment. "If you are right, why are these people not sick? They seem perfectly healthy." "Maybe the parasites do not want to make them sick. Maybe they want something else." Kim Hwan pulled up behavioral analysis charts he had been making. "Look at this data. The humans with the most brain spots are also the ones who have changed their behavior the most." "Changed how?" "They used to ask questions about safety procedures. Now they just follow orders. They used to suggest improvements to colony systems. Now they say everything is fine. They used to worry about their families back on Earth. Now they say they do not want to leave the colony ever." Park Nari looked at the brain scans again. "You think the parasites are controlling their thoughts?" "I think the parasites are making them more obedient and less likely to resist. But they are doing it slowly so no one notices the change." "That is a terrible thought," Kim Hwan nodded, "and I think I know why." He turned to a new file on his computer. "I have been researching the history of this planet. The aliens told us they discovered it 50 years ago, but I found older records." "What kind of records?" "Deep space surveys from 100 years ago. This planet had intelligent life before the current alien species arrived." Park Nari leaned forward. "What happened to the original inhabitants?" "They disappeared, but they left behind ruins and technology. I think these parasites in the rain were their creation. A weapon? A terraforming tool. Something designed to make other species more passive and easier to control." Kim Hwan showed her images of ancient ruins that had been found on other continents. The structures were built by a species that no longer existed. The current alien species probably do not even know about this. They think they discovered an empty planet. But the planet was not empty, it was prepared. Prepared for what? For conquest. The original species created these parasites to weaken any future colonists, make them less likely to fight back or resist control. Park Nari stood up and walked to the window. "But the parasites do not affect the current alien species. Maybe the original species only designed them to work on certain types of biology. Or maybe the current aliens have natural immunity. Either way, humans are vulnerable." Kim Hwan joined her at the window. "And we are the only ones who know it." Over the next few days, Kim Hwan tried to test his theory. He observed the colonists more carefully, documenting their behavior changes. The pattern was always the same. The longer someone had been on the planet and the more rainwater they had consumed, the more their personality changed. They became less creative, less questioning, and more willing to accept whatever the aliens suggested. They stopped making plans to return to Earth. They stopped worrying about their safety. They became perfect colonists. It is like the parasites are slowly erasing the parts of human nature that might cause problems for the aliens, Kim Hwan told Park Nari. "But the aliens do not know about the parasites," she pointed out. "They do not have to know. The system works automatically." Any species that colonizes this planet becomes passive and obedient over time. Kim Hwan had another disturbing realization. I bet this has happened before. Other species probably tried to colonize this planet and ended up being controlled by these parasites. Where are they now? Gone, probably absorbed into the current alien populations or eliminated when they were no longer useful. Park Nari shuddered, and now it is happening to humans. Kim Hwan looked at his own brain scan. He had spots too, but not as many as the long-term colonists. His strict filtration protocols had protected him somewhat, but not completely. We need to find a way to remove these parasites, he said. How? I do not know yet. But I have an idea about how to test treatments. Kim Hwan had been growing samples of the parasites in his laboratory. He had also obtained more brain tissue from the research animals. If I can find something that kills the parasites without harming the nerve cells, we might be able to develop a treatment. They spent days testing different approaches. He killed the parasites, but it also damaged the brain tissue. Chemicals that poisoned the parasites also poisoned the neurons. Radiation had similar problems, then Kim Hwan tried something different. What if we use electromagnetic fields? He said, like the ones that wake them up? No, different frequencies. Maybe we can find a frequency that disrupts their ability to connect to nerve cells. They tested dozens of different electromagnetic frequencies. Most had no effect. Some made the parasites more active, but then they found one frequency that made the parasites release their connections to the nerve cells and become dormant. It works, Park Nari said excitedly. The parasites let go of the neurons when exposed to this frequency, and the nerve cells appear undamaged, Kim Hwan added. They repeated the experiment many times. The results were consistent. The right electromagnetic frequency could force the parasites to disconnect from brain tissue without causing harm. This could be the cure, Park Nari said. Maybe, but we need to test it on living subjects. Kim Hwan looked at his own brain scan again. I will be the first test subject. That is too dangerous. It is more dangerous to let these things stay in my brain. Besides, someone has to take the risk. That night, Kim Hwan prepared the electromagnetic treatment device. It was basically a helmet with special coils that could generate the precise frequency they had discovered. Are you sure about this? Park Nari asked. I am sure I do not want parasites controlling my thoughts, Kim Hwan replied. He put on the helmet and turned on the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he felt a strange tingling sensation in his head. Suddenly he felt more alert than he had in months. Colors seemed brighter. His thinking felt clearer. He had not realized how much the parasites had been affecting him until they were disrupted. How do you feel? Park Nari asked. Better, Kim Hwan said. Much better. Like I just woke up from a long, confusing dream. They scanned his brain again. The spots were still there, but they were smaller and less connected. The treatment works, Park Nari said, but it might need to be repeated to completely clear the parasites. Kim Hwan nodded. Then we need to treat the other humans, starting with the ones who have been here longest. How do we convince them to try the treatment? Kim Hwan thought about Jin Woong, Kim Soo, and Park Hinan. They all seemed perfectly happy with their lives. They would not want to be cured of something they did not think was a problem. We cannot tell them the truth, he said. They are too compromised to understand. We will have to find another way. What kind of other way? Kim Hwan looked out at the colony, where humans and aliens lived together in apparent harmony. But now, he knew the truth. The harmony was artificial, created by parasites that were slowly taking control of human minds. I do not know yet, he said, but we have to save them, even if they do not want to be saved. 3 weeks later, everything changed. Kim Hwan was working in his laboratory when the emergency alarm started blaring. He looked up from his microscope and saw flashing red lights throughout the colony. Solar storm warning, the computer announced. All personnel take shelter immediately. Electromagnetic activity at dangerous levels. Kim Hwan had seen solar storms before, but this one was different. Through his window, he could see the sky turning strange colors. Green and purple lights danced across the clouds. The air itself seemed to be glowing. "This is the biggest storm I have ever seen," Parknari said, running into the laboratory. "The electromagnetic readings are off the charts," Kim Hwan replied, checking his instruments outside. The aliens seemed excited about the storm. The luminari were growing brighter and bigger, feeding off the energy. The crystallites were extending crystal formations into the air to collect the electrical discharges. The Neptunians were dancing in the rain, which was falling harder than ever, but then Kim Hwan noticed something wrong with the humans. Jin Woong was standing in the main plaza, not moving. He was just staring up at the sky with a blank expression. On his face, Kim Soo was walking in circles near the hydroponics bay. She kept repeating the same words over and over, but Kim Hwan could not hear what she was saying. Park Hyman was hitting his head with his hands, like he was trying to get something out of it. "Something is happening to the infected humans," Kim Hwan said. "Infected humans? The ones with parasites in their brains, look at them." Parknari looked out the window and gasped. All over the colony, humans who had been there longest were acting strangely. Some were standing perfectly still. Others were moving in repetitive patterns. A few were talking rapidly to themselves. "What is wrong with them?" Parknari asked. Kim Hwan checked his electromagnetic sensors. "The solar storm is generating massive electromagnetic pulses, much stronger than anything we have tested." "You think the electromagnetic activity is affecting the parasites?" "I think it is activating them, all of them, at the same time." As they watched, more humans began displaying strange behavior. People who had seemed normal just minutes before were now acting like robots with broken programming. "We need to help them," Parknari said. "Wait," Kim Hwan said. "Let me check something first." He pulled up the brain scans on his computer and compared them to the electromagnetic readings from the storm. "The frequency of the solar storm activity is very close to human brainwave patterns," he said. "But it is much stronger than normal. What does that mean?" "I think the parasites are trying to establish full control, but the signal is too strong. It is overloading their systems." Through the window, they could see Lee Tiemann stumbling toward the alien representatives. He was moving like a sleepwalker, with his arms stretched out in front of him. We have to. Lee Tiemann kept saying the same words over and over. Veltar, Crix, and Mothra gathered around him, looking confused. "What is wrong with the humans?" Veltar asked, his skin flashing worried colors. "They are malfunctioning," Crix said, his crystal body turning a concerned shade of blue. "Malfunctioning?" Mothra flickered nervously. "The biological entities do not malfunction." Kim Hwan realized this was his chance. The electromagnetic storm had revealed the parasite's existence in a way that could not be ignored. "Come on," he said. To Parknari, "We need to get out there." They put on protective gear and ran outside. The electromagnetic energy in the air made Kim Hwan's skin tingle, but his filtration protocols had kept most of the parasites out of his system. "Veltar!" Kim Hwan called out. "I know what is wrong with them." The three alien representatives turned toward him. Lee Tiemann was still repeating the same phrase. "We have to eliminate the filters. We have to drink the rain." "We have to eliminate the filters? What is he talking about?" Crix asked. "He is being controlled by parasites," Kim Hwan said. "Microscopic organisms that live in the rainwater." "Not this again," Veltar said, his skin turning an annoyed yellow. "Look at him," Kim Hwan pointed to Lee Tiemann. "Look at all the humans. Does this seem normal to you?" The aliens looked around the colony. Everywhere they looked, humans were acting strangely. Some were trying to destroy the water filtration systems. Others were collecting rainwater in containers and trying to force other humans to drink it. "We have to make them understand," Kim Soo was saying as she carried a bucket of rainwater toward a group of newer colonists. "The rain is good, the rain is necessary. They must drink the rain. This is not normal human behavior," Mothra admitted. "Because they are not in control of their behavior," Kim Hwan explained. "The electromagnetic storm is activating parasites in their brains." Parknari was scanning the affected humans with her medical equipment. "The neural activity in their brains is completely abnormal. Their brainwaves are synchronized with each other like they are part of a network. A network? Crix's crystal body flashed with interest. The parasites are communicating with each other, Kim Hwan said, coordinating their control of the human hosts. But why are they trying to eliminate your water filters? Veltar asked. Kim. Hwan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the storm. Because the filters are the only thing preventing more humans from being infected. The parasites want to spread to everyone. As if to prove his point, Park Hyman approached a group of newer colonists with a container of rainwater. You must drink this, he said in a flat, emotionless voice. It is necessary for colony integration. You must drink this now. The newer colonists backed away from him, frightened by his strange behavior. I can prove what I am saying, Kim Hwan told the aliens. I have a device that can disrupt the parasite's control. He ran back to his laboratory and returned with the electromagnetic treatment helmet he had built. This device generates a frequency that interferes with the parasite's ability to control nerve cells, he explained. Try it on me, Li Timan said suddenly. But his voice was still flat and emotionless. Try your device on me so I can prove it does not work. Kim Hwan realized that the parasites were using Li Timan to try to trick him. They wanted to be exposed to the treatment frequency so they could adapt to it. I will try it on Jin Wung. Instead, Kim Hwan said. Jin Wung was standing nearby, perfectly still except for his eyes, which were moving back and forth rapidly. Kim Hwan put the helmet on Jin Wung's head and activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jin Wung blinked and looked around in confusion. Where am I? He asked. What happened? I feel like I've been asleep for months. The alien stared at him in shock. How do you feel, Jin Wung? Park Nari asked. Strange, Jin Wung said. Like I just woke up from a very long, very weird dream. I remember agreeing to things that I would never normally agree to. Why did I do that? Because parasites in your brain were influencing your thoughts and decisions. Kim Hwan explained. Jin Wung looked horrified. There were things living in my brain. There still are. The treatment just disrupts their control temporarily. We need to find a way to remove them completely. Veltar's skin was cycling through colors rapidly, showing his confusion and concern. If this is true, then we have been unknowingly exposing humans to a biological weapon. You did not know, Kim Hwan said. The parasites do not affect your species. You had no way to detect them. But we should have listened to your concerns, Crix said, his crystal body dimming with what looked like shame. We dismissed your warnings. As paranoia, Mothra added, flickering more slowly than usual around them, the other infected humans were becoming more agitated. They seemed to sense that their control over Jin Wung had been broken. The rain is good, they chanted in unison. The rain is necessary. Everyone must drink the rain. They are trying to prevent us from treating more people, Park Nari observed. Kim Hwan looked at the dozens of infected humans surrounding them. They all had the same blank expression and the same purpose, to make sure the parasites could complete their takeover of the human population. We need to act fast, he said, before they organize themselves into something even more dangerous. The infected humans began moving toward Kim Hwan and the others. They walked in perfect coordination, like soldiers marching in formation. Their eyes were empty, but their purpose was clear. You must stop interfering, they said in unison. Their voices created an eerie chorus that echoed across the colony plaza. The integration process must continue. Integration process? Veltar's skin flashed alarmed colors. That is what the parasites call taking control of human minds. Kim Hwan explained quickly. Jin Wung, who was still free from the parasite's control, backed up against Kim Hwan. They are going to try to force us to drink the rainwater. I remember having thoughts about doing that to other people. We cannot let them, Park Nari said. If they infect the remaining humans, no one will be left to resist them. The infected humans were getting closer. Li Timan was leading them, carrying a large container of rainwater. You will drink, he said in his flat, emotionless voice. you will join the network. Resistance is counterproductive to colony harmony. This is not colony harmony, Crix said, his crystal body flashing angry red. This is invasion. An invasion we helped enable, Mothra said, growing brighter with what appeared to be determination. We must fix this. Veltar moved to stand between the infected humans and Kim Wan's group. Stay back, do not come closer. You cannot stop the integration, the infected chorus responded. Your species are immune. You will not be harmed. Only the remaining humans must be processed. Processed? Jin Wung shuddered. They are talking about us like we are machines, Kim Wan was thinking quickly. The electromagnetic treatment device could free the infected humans temporarily, but he only had one helmet. With dozens of infected people approaching, he needed a different solution. I have an idea, he said, but I need to get to the colony's main power generator. Why? Parknari asked. The treatment frequency works on a small scale, but if I can broadcast it through the colony's electrical system, I might be able to disrupt all the parasites at once. That could be dangerous, Veltar warned. The power. Our idea is not designed for that kind of modification. More dangerous than letting the parasites take control of every human? Kim Hwan asked. The infected humans were only 20 meters away now. They had spread out to surround Kim Hwan's group. Go, Crix said. We will hold them back. How? Parknari asked. Crix extended crystal formations from his body, creating a barrier between them and the infected humans. Crystallite emergency. Protocol. I can create temporary structures. Veltar moved to support Crix. And I can use water pressure to keep them at distance. He began drawing moisture from the air and the rain, forming high-pressure streams. Mothra grew brighter and larger. I will create electromagnetic interference to disrupt their coordination. Kim Hwan was amazed. The aliens were risking themselves to protect the humans, even though they had dismissed his warnings for so long. Thank you, he said. Go now, Veltar said. We cannot hold them forever. Kim Hwan ran toward the power station with Parknari and Jin Wung following behind him. The rain was still falling heavily, and the electromagnetic storm continued to rage overhead. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of conflict as the aliens tried to stop the infected humans without hurting them. The power station was a large building at the center of the colony. It contained fusion reactors and electrical distribution systems that provided energy for all the colony's operations. Do you really know how to modify the power grid? Parknari asked as they reached the building. I know enough, Kim Hwan said. I designed most of the colony's electrical systems. They entered the power station and ran to the main control room. Kim Hwan began pulling apart the electromagnetic treatment helmet, exposing the frequency generator inside. What can we do to help? Jin Wung asked. Help me connect this device to the main power distribution panel, Kim Hwan said. I need to route the signal through every electrical circuit in the colony. They worked quickly, running cables and adjusting settings. Through the window, they could see the aliens still holding back the infected humans. But the situation was getting worse. More infected humans had joined the group. They were working together with perfect coordination, trying to overwhelm the aliens' defenses. They are like a hive mind, Parknari observed. The parasites have created a collective intelligence. That might work in our favor, Kim Hwan said. If they are all connected, disrupting the network might affect all of them at once. He finished connecting the frequency generator to the power grid. This is going to send an electromagnetic pulse through every wire, every light, and every electronic device in the colony. Will it be safe for uninfected humans? Jin Wung asked. I do not know, Kim Hwan admitted, but it is our only chance. He looked at the control panel. All he had to do was press one button, and the treatment frequency would be broadcast throughout. The entire colony, what if it does not work? Parknari asked. Then we find another way, Kim Hwan said. But we cannot let the parasites win. He pressed the button. Immediately, every light in the colony flickered. The electromagnetic pulse traveled through the power grid, carrying the treatment frequency to every building and every room, through the window. They could see the infected humans suddenly stop moving. For a moment, everyone in the plaza stood perfectly still. Then one by one, they began to blink and look around in confusion. "Where am I?" Kim Soo called out. "What happened?" Park Hyman asked, looking at the rain container in his hands with disgust. "Why do I feel like I have been sleepwalking for months?" Another human wondered aloud. The electromagnetic pulse had worked. The treatment frequency had disrupted the parasite's control over all the infected humans simultaneously. It worked. Park Nari shouted. But Kim Huang was still watching his instruments. "The pulse only lasts for a few minutes. The parasites are still in their brains. They will try to regain control. Then we need a permanent solution," Jin Wong said. Kim Huang nodded. "And I think I know what it is. But it will require help from everyone, humans and aliens, working together." Through the window they could see Veltar, Crix, and Mothra helping the confused humans understand what had happened to them. The freed colonists looked shocked and frightened to learn that they had been controlled by parasites. "The good news is that now everyone knows the truth," Park Nari said. "The bad news is that we still need to find a way to remove the parasites completely," Kim Hwan replied, "before they adapt to our treatment frequency." Jin Wong was looking at brain scan data on one of the computers. "How long do we have?" "I estimate a few hours before the parasites regain full control," Kim Hwan said. "Maybe less." "Then we better work fast," Park Nari said. Kim Hwan looked out at the colony, where humans and aliens were finally working together to fight a common enemy. For the first time in weeks he felt hopeful. "Yes," he said. "We better work very fast indeed." The colony's main meeting hall had never seen anything like this before. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing technology and knowledge in ways they had never done before. The crisis had brought everyone together with a common purpose. Kim Hwan stood at the center of the room, surrounded by brain scans, water analysis reports, and electromagnetic equipment. "We have maybe 2 hours before the parasites regain full control," he announced. Jin Wong, who was still free from parasite influence, had become Kim Hwan's main assistant. "What do we need to do?" "Two things," Kim Hwan said. "First, we need to find a way to kill the parasites without harming the humans. Second, we need to stop more parasites from entering the colony." Veltar stepped forward. "Our geological surveys of the planet show that the parasites exist in water systems across all continents. They are not just in our local rain." "That means this is a planetary problem," Crix added, "not just a colony problem." Mothra flickered with interest. "We have found something in our historical databases. Ancient ruins on this planet contain references to a species called the Shapers." "Shapers?" Park Nari asked. "According to the ruins, they were the original inhabitants of this planet. They created biological tools to modify other species." Kim Hwan felt his theory being confirmed. The parasites are one of their tools. "But the Shapers disappeared thousands of years ago," Veltar said. "Why are their tools still active?" "Because they were designed to be automatic," Kim Hwan realized. "The Shapers created a self-sustaining system to weaken any future colonists." Crix's crystal body pulsed with new information. "We have accessed deeper historical records. The Shapers used these parasites to control 12 different species before. They vanished. What happened to those species?" Park Nari asked. "Unknown. They also vanished from historical records." A chill ran through the room. Everyone realized they might be looking at their future if they could not solve this problem. "We need to focus on immediate solutions," Kim Hwan said. "Jin Wong, how are the other humans feeling?" Jin Wong had been monitoring the freed colonists. "They are scared but alert. Some are reporting that they can feel the parasites trying to regain control, like voices whispering in their heads." "The electromagnetic treatment is wearing off," Park Nari observed. Kim Hwan looked at his instruments. "We need a more permanent solution. What if we could modify the planet's atmosphere?" Mothra suggested. "Modify it how?" "Luminary technology. Can manipulate electromagnetic fields on a large scale. If we could create a planetary electromagnetic field that constantly broadcasts your treatment frequency, It might keep the parasites permanently suppressed. Veltar's skin brightened with excitement. And Neptunian water processing technology could filter the parasites out of the ocean and rain cycles. Crystallite computing systems could coordinate both operations, Crix added. Kim Hwan stared at. Then, you want to modify an entire planet? It is the only way to make sure this never happens again, Valtar said. Not just to humans, but to any future species that might colonize this world. But that would be a massive undertaking, Parknari said. We have the technology, Crix said. Each of our species contributes different capabilities. Together we can do what none of us could do alone? Kim Hwan realized they were talking about something unprecedented. 4 different species working together to completely transform a planet's biosphere. How long would it take? He asked. To design the systems? A few days, Mothra said. To implement them? Several months. We do not have months, Jin Wong said. People are starting to act strange again. Kim Hwan looked around the room. Some of the freed humans were indeed showing signs that the parasites were regaining influence. They were becoming quieter and more agreeable. We need a temporary solution while we work on the permanent one, he said. What kind of temporary solution? Parknari asked. Kim Hwan thought quickly. We modify the colony's entire electrical grid to constantly broadcast the treatment frequency. Not just a pulse, but a continuous signal. That would require massive amounts of power, Valtar warned. I can provide the power, Mothra said. Luminari can convert the electromagnetic energy from the solar storms into usable electricity. And I can create the frequency generators, Crix added. Crystallite technology is perfect for precise electromagnetic control. I can design water purification systems that will remove parasites from all water sources. Veltar offered. Kim Hwan felt hope growing in his chest. For the first time since discovering the parasites, he had allies who could actually help solve the problem. Let's do it, he said. The next few hours were the most intense work period in the colony's history. Humans and aliens worked together. With perfect coordination, sharing technology and knowledge freely, Mothra created electromagnetic collectors that could harvest energy from the ongoing solar storm. Crix grew crystal formations throughout the colony that could generate and broadcast the treatment frequency. Veltar built water processing systems that could filter out parasites at the molecular level. Kim Hwan and Parknari coordinated everything, making sure the different technologies worked together properly. As they worked, Kim Hwan noticed something interesting. The humans who had been infected longest were the most helpful and creative during the project. It was as if being freed from the parasites had unleashed capabilities that had been suppressed. The parasites do not just control behavior, he told Parknari. They actually inhibit human creativity and problem-solving abilities. That makes sense, she replied. Creative, questioning humans would be harder to control, which means we are smarter and more capable when we are free from them. By the end of the day, they had created a colony-wide system that continuously broadcast the treatment frequency through the electrical grid, the water supply, and even the air circulation systems. Testing the system now, Crix announced. Kim Hwan watched his instruments as the treatment frequency filled every part of the colony. On his computer screen, he could see brain scans of the infected humans. The dark spots that represented parasite colonies were becoming smaller and more fragmented. It is working, Parknari said. The parasites are being disrupted continuously. How long until they are completely eliminated? Jin Wong asked. Based on these readings, about a week of continuous treatment should clear all the parasites from human brains, Kim Hwan said. And the planetary modification project? Veltar asked. That will take longer, but we have the temporary system to protect us while we work, Kim Hwan replied. Over the following weeks, Kim Hwan watched his fellow humans recover completely from the parasite infection. They became more creative, more questioning, and more engaged with colony life. But now their engagement was genuine, not artificially induced. The planetary modification project proceeded faster than anyone had expected. Working together, the four species created atmospheric processors that could neutralize parasites in rain clouds, deep-sea purification systems that cleaned the oceans, and a network of electromagnetic generators that created a planet-wide field tuned to disrupt parasite activity. "We are not just saving this colony," Veltar said during one of their planning meetings. "We are making sure this planet can never again be used as a trap for unsuspecting colonists." "The Galactic Colonial Authority should know about this," Mothra added. "Other planets might have similar biological weapons left by extinct species." Kim Hwan nodded. "We will write a complete report, and we will recommend new protocols for all future colonies." "What kind of protocols?" Crix asked. "Thorough biological surveys that test for species-specific threats, and the requirement that colonies include multiple species with different biological vulnerabilities. What is invisible to one species might be obvious to another." 6 months later, Kim Hwan stood in the same laboratory.